Alright, it's right above the right place where it needs to be. Alright, no one's. Alright, alright. Alright, welcome. This is Janay. This is my plant-based cooking class for Thursday, March 20th. We are having a vegan, dairy-free, meat-free nacho night. So there's Taco Tuesday, now we're doing Taco Thursday of sorts. So first I'm going to show you how to make an amazing dairy-free queso. That's really simple. And then we're going to make delicious plant-based beef. Again, that's super convenient, quick, and easy. And we're going to finish that off by simply plating the nachos with some nice fresh vegetables like I have here, some cut onion and tomato. Okay, so in this pot, I put exactly 1 cup of this vegetable broth. You can use any brand you like. Right now, I really like Swanson, but any vegetable broth brand that you enjoy will do. So 1 cup is sitting in this pot on medium heat, and as you can see, it's been simmering and steamy. So now that it is hot, that means it's ready for the next step, which is the dairy-free cheese. This is my favorite brand right now of dairy-free cheddar. It's called Better Goods, and you can find this at Walmart in the cheese section or near the cheese section. I love this because it's actually pretty much, you can eat this out of the bag. Most dairy-free vegan cheeses, you cannot eat them raw. This one is different. You can actually eat it raw. And if you can't find this for any reason, the other store-bought brand I like to use for queso is Daya. They have a new cheese made with oat cream, and I'm actually really impressed. It melts like real cheese and has an amazing cheesy taste. I use this to make mac and cheese and all kinds of things, enchiladas. I really enjoy this brand, okay? So Better Goods, Daya, you can't go wrong. Okay, so now that this vegetable broth is hot, I'm gonna go ahead and put in the entire bag of the Better Goods cheddar, which is equal to about just under 3 cups. It's 8 ounces. If you were to measure it, it's just equal to under 3 cups. And I'm gonna stir that in. Now, as you can see, the cheese gets hot and starts to soften, but it doesn't melt. And that's fine, because we're gonna melt it in the next step. And the heat is on medium heat. So I'm using my hot plate, but it's on medium. So stir the shreds, the cheddar, dairy-free cheddar around till it gets nice and soft. Let it sit for a couple seconds. And now we're going to make real queso by adding dairy-free milk. So my favorite brand to use is Nut Pods. This is incredibly rich and creamy, like real dairy-free creamer. I mean, like actual dairy creamer. If you don't have this, you can use plain unsweetened almond milk. Any unsweetened plant-based milk will work in this recipe. But Nut Pods is especially rich and creamy. So now I'm going to add, let's start with 1/4 cup. So it's 1 cup of vegetable broth in this pot, 3 cups of the dairy-free cheese, and now I'm gonna eyeball 1/4 cup of the Nut Pods. And you're gonna see, it takes a minute or two, but this stuff works magic. It's gonna transform this pot into like creamy queso. It's really amazing. All you gotta do is be a little patient. As this cheese absorbs the creamer liquid, it gets super soft and it's just amazing. And this is dairy-free, and the reason I encourage people to eat dairy-free, there's really a multitude of reasons. Firstly, for your health. Most adults have some form of lactose intolerance. They have found that around the world, 60 to 70% of adults have difficulty digesting milk. And the reason for that is very simple. Once we, as babies, come off of our mother's milk during the weaning period, when we're about 2 years old, we naturally don't need to consume milk anymore for nutrition. It's perfect for infants and small toddlers, but once we are weaned, we simply don't need it. So we lose the ability to digest lactose, the main sugar found in milk. As a result, a lot of people find themselves having lactose intolerance as kids or as adults. You just notice if you eat ice cream or cheese pizza that something doesn't feel quite right. after you consume those foods, and that's because your body is struggling to break down that lactose sugar. So lactose intolerance is a big reason to come off of dairy and consume a dairy-free product like nut pods and the queso we're making. Another reason is cholesterol. Animal foods, did you know, here's a little factoid, animal foods are the only foods that contain cholesterol. So meat, dairy, eggs, and seafood have cholesterol. Plant-based foods have none. Even foods that have more calories or are more processed, like this cheese, you can consider this a processed product, doesn't matter. They have zero cholesterol. Cholesterol is only found in animal foods. So when you eat a plant-based dairy-free queso, you're automatically removing cholesterol from your body for that meal that day. Another great reason to come off of dairy is they've done many studies that have found people who consumed large amounts of high-fat dairy have increased risk of a whole laundry list of health conditions. You're more likely to have acne and eczema, those skin conditions. You're more likely to have autoimmune conditions like IBS, multiple sclerosis, and people who drink a lot of high-fat dairy are at higher risk for developing certain forms of cancer, especially reproductive cancers. So in women, it affects the breasts and the ovaries, and in men, they have found it affects the prostate. So dairy consumption has been linked to a long list of health conditions and diseases that should concern us. And so this queso, I'm going to add a little bit more vegetable broth, just a teeny bit, but it's almost there, it just needs a tiny bit more liquid. And the final big health reason I encourage people to avoid dairy is hormones. That is because all milk that we consume in the grocery store comes from pregnant cows. Cows are like all mammals. They have to have a baby to produce milk. So that means from the time that they become sexually mature on these dairy farms, they are inseminated, they're forced to become pregnant so that the farmers can start extracting milk from them. And that means every time you consume a dairy product, doesn't matter if it's high fat, low fat, organic, it came from a pregnant animal or a cow that recently gave birth, because they're milked, after they give birth too. And the scariest part of that is that they have discovered this milk from these dairy cows is full of hormones, especially estrogen and progesterone, because they're mammals, and towards the end of their pregnancy, their estrogen levels go way high. So when you're consuming milk, you're basically drinking straight up mammalian hormones. And these hormones, they have found in studies, are readily absorbed by the human body. And they found that boys who consume dairy milk, their testosterone levels were suppressed after consuming dairy. So that should tell you that these estrogen and progesterone hormones inside of milk are very active and doing something negative to our health. Okay, so this queso is almost done. I keep adding a little bit more liquid, just a teeny bit. But as you can see, it's gotten much softer. And now I'm going to season it. So let me take a quick look at these comments. Okay. Someone said the cheese looks great. Thank you very much. I've served this actually in classes. I do live classes inside of libraries, and I hand people food samples. They're really amazed at how good this cheese tastes. They can't believe it's, a vegan product. So now I'm adding just a teeny bit of this white wine vinegar, because that gives it a cheesy tang, like real queso. So that was like a half a teaspoon. And the final ingredient you need is just this, some taco seasoning. My favorite brand at the moment is Siete. They make awesome taco seasoning. And you only need a quick, maybe half a teaspoon to a teaspoon, depending how seasoned you like it. And that's it. That's all you need to do to make this queso. You can leave the taco seasoning out and just pour this over a baked potato, like Velveeta. Enjoy this like you would with Velveeta. And it's interesting, I came up with this recipe because one day I was trying to make a dairy-free broccoli cheddar soup, and I was struggling with the texture of making it cheesy enough. And I discovered if I added just a teeny bit of unsweetened milk, like this one, it automatically thickened. Like the soup, the broccoli cheddar got so thick and luscious, and I was like, OMG, this is the secret to making a good queso. So yeah, It's pretty simple. 3 ingredients: dairy-free milk, the vegan cheddar shreds. This is the brand, if you just joined me, this is the brand I like to use. It's called Better Goods. I get it at Walmart, and it's really affordable. It's only like, compared to other vegan cheeses, it's pretty cheap. It's $3.99 for an 8-ounce bag, and you just need 1 bag of this, plus maybe half a cup of milk and a cup of vegetable broth, and you're good to go to make this queso. And if you want to see the whole recipe, I have it on my YouTube channel. I show the entire thing beginning to end. It's really easy. Okay, so this is going to continue to melt. It's still a little bit on the chunky side, which I don't like, but it will fully melt down. I've made this a million times, and it always turns into this really silky, soft texture. Okay, so now that that's done, let's make the beef. We're going to make plant-based beef to go on top of the nachos. So here is my beef product that I'm using. It's Gardein ground plant-based beef. Now, here's the thing. Some people say this, they see it and they say, oh, this is too processed, I want something natural. There are a million ways to make plant-based beef. I've made it with mushrooms and walnuts. I've had it made with mushrooms and cauliflower, all kinds of ways. There's a ton of great products out there. This happens to be my favorite because it's easy to find, number one. It's easy to find in the grocery store. It's really versatile, and it tastes great. It tastes great. So when I go and do public education on plant-based food, this is the #1 brand I like to tell people to use for ground beef because it's really great. It's called Gardein, and it's just like ground beef. They call it ground beef, which is I always think is so funny. And we're going to use the entire bag of this. So to make it, I have oil. I'm using just a tad bit of avocado oil. This is kind of optional, but a teaspoon of avocado oil. And then I have my pot on medium heat. And I'm just going to let the oil spread around. Now, if you want to make this super flavorful, you can add some diced onion into the hot oil and then mix that with the beef. That's so good. I've done that many times. But tonight, we're going to keep it simple, just the beef. So the oil is heating up. And here's what I'm going to season the beef with. I'm going to use my taco seasoning, which I just had. Where did I put it? Well, my Siete taco seasoning. Oh, and this. I'll find the seasoning. But I love using taco sauce to season this beef. I'm using the Kroger brand because I love the ingredients. It's got very clean ingredients. If you look, nothing bad. If you can't find this brand, definitely use something like Ortega. Ortega has great flavor. I don't always use Ortega because it has sodium benzoate, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's not a healthy additive, but any taco sauce will do. This one has a particularly good flavor. So let me grab the beef, and here. And if you're just joining me, this is the brand I'm using. It's Gardein. So I live in South Florida, and this is easily found at my local Publix stores, but I've been to other grocery stores, and a lot of them carry Gardein. So it shouldn't be too hard to find in U.S. supermarkets. So I'm going to pour this bag in. And I have a teaspoon of avocado oil already heated up in the pan. As you can see, it looks a lot, or pretty much identical to ground beef. It's a bit frozen, so I'm just going to break it up. Now, as I was explaining earlier, when you eat plant-based food, you're always going to get certain benefits. And the #1 benefit you'll find is that there's no cholesterol. Because cholesterol is only found in animal foods like meat, dairy, eggs, and seafood. Plant-based foods like this ground beef have all the flavor and the texture of animal foods with none of the cholesterol. So that's always a plus that you'll get. As long as what you're eating is totally plant-based and vegan, it's a cholesterol-free meal. But it tastes just as good. Okay, so now this is going to come together quick because this product is pre-seasoned. It's really easy. So all I'm going to do is add my dry seasoning. I just had it here. I think I misplaced it. Where did I put that? It probably fell down. Okay, I can't find my dry seasoning, so I'm just going to, I have it. I know what I'm going to do. I actually make my own taco seasoning for times like this. This is a little mix I made recently. So this is just like, you know, standard taco seasoning. It's cumin with chili powder, paprika, garlic powder, onion powder. But please use a good store-bought brand. And there's no salt in this. Be careful not to oversalt your food. That's always a concern. And now I'm going to add the liquid, which is this taco sauce. You only need, I'm gonna start with a 1/4 cup. That's it. And the final ingredient is actually gonna be water. Water makes it super tender and juicy. So the seasoning and the sauce were for the flavor. The water is for the texture. So let me grab some purified water. The water's right here. Alright, so I'm adding, be careful with the water because it can easily like over saturate it and dilute the flavor. This is like 3 tablespoons of water. But the water does wonders. And as you can see, it automatically becomes softer and juicier. And I can promise you that this smells exactly like regular ground beef. Like the same. Okay. So this is plant-based ground beef. I just added water. I'm going to add a little bit more of this taco sauce, just for more flavor. And this is ready in like half the time as regular ground beef. Regular ground beef, you have to like drain the fat. You have to let it brown all the way. It takes more minutes than this. This is ready in like 5, 6, maybe no more than 8 minutes. It's ready and good to go. And I actually only use like 3/4 of the bag. 1 bag of this is enough to feed a whole family easily. Like a family of 4, you can make a lot of tacos with this. Alright, so this beef, of course, is great for tacos, but I'm going to put it on top of our nachos. Because nothing is better than cheesy, beefy nachos. And it's important whenever you're cooking to always stop and taste it. Give everything a taste. Make sure it's well seasoned. If it needs more seasoning, add it. Add some. If it needs more garlic powder, onion powder, cumin, a little bit more salt, whatever. Balance the flavors before serving it. Okay, so this is about done. It's about done. Alright, so now we're finished. Our nachos are ready to be plated. So let me go grab a plate. Okay, here's my plate, and I've got some nachos here. Let me turn the heat down. I feel like there's one more thing I wanted to show you. Oh, I was supposed to do sour cream. Alright, we'll skip the sour cream for now. We're just going to make pure cheese and beef nachos. Okay, so here's my nachos. These are amazing from my local Publix deli. They're really, really crispy. I love these. They're like some of the best nachos I have found to date. I'm making a huge mess, of course, because I have stuff flying over this hot plate. I'm trying not to get burned. I literally have a really hot plate underneath me. Okay, so these are the nachos. And here is our queso. That's our queso from earlier. This was made with just 3 ingredients: dairy-free almond milk, vegan cheddar shreds, and what was the last ingredient? Oh, vegetable broth. So I'm going to take this and just pour it over. There's so much of it. It's so good. It's so good. It looks good and it is good. And finally, let's just add the beef. I think I'm giving up on these lives. I don't want to deal with this anymore. There's no one there. No, I think I'm just done. It's so much work. And for who? You know?
For you.